Chris Sexton, the Technical Director at Crossrail. Thanks for joining us here at Tomorrow's Rail. You finished the tunnelling on Crossrail. Does that mean you're heading now towards the final finish of 2018? What have you got to do?
Well, we've got a lot to do. You're right. I mean, tunnelling has just finished a couple of months ago, and we're now in the transition period into fitting out the stations with mechanical and electrical components and fitting out the railway systems. So there's a huge amount still to come, and a lot of it is very complicated.
But also, it's complicated by the fact that I imagine you've got an increasingly large number of, I suppose, smaller firms that are working. There's a different supply chain working on the business.
There is a slightly different dynamic. I mean, we've got most of the major contractors are still working, but there are more subcontractors. Yeah. That gives us a new challenge, I mean, particularly, for example, on safety, and making sure the Crossrail safety culture gets down to every single person working on Crossrail.
Yeah. I mean, presumably we must have learnt from projects like Jubilee Line Extension about how to finish, how to deliver the systems on projects like this. I mean, but you must be aware in the back of your mind that what normally trips up a project like this is the signalling, the M&E. How are you going to make sure that doesn't happen?
Well, we're very well aware that projects often get tripped up, so towards the end. Very often with systems involving software, it's very difficult to actually see progress, which is not the case in tunnelling. But we have learned a lot from previous projects. Jubilee Line Extension, and just one example of that is, not to change specifications close to the end of the project, but stick with what you asked for to start with and make sure you deliver it.
Yeah, and I imagine that what you're also doing is making sure that that you're setting up, I suppose, the infrastructure community for delivery of the next projects. You need to make sure that you are setting up Crossrail 2 to be deliverable. Is that on your mind?
It's slightly on our mind. I mean, we are doing what we can to help Crossrail 2, and we've just set up a learning legacy program where we will put together everything that we've learned on Crossrail, and that will be available to Crossrail 2, to High Speed 2, to Thames Tideway, and whatever comes up next.
Is there a risk that the recent difficulties we saw at Network Rail, where the government's coming in to actually have a rethink about electrification, is there a risk that undermines perhaps the confidence or the delivery confidence that we've spent such a long while building up with government over the last few years will be undermined?
Yeah, I certainly haven't detected that. There's no sign of it in Crossrail. I think HS2, as we heard earlier today, is going ahead, and I think so long as these decisions are made early in the planning process, I don't think it undermines confidence. Where it does undermine confidence is if these decisions are made late. Yeah.
Because what we heard Mark Kahn, Chief Executive of Network Rail, say earlier on at the conference is we need to be more I suppose aggressive about the way that we actually meet the challenges of the future. We need to be really kind of getting the engineering up front done a lot earlier. I suppose that is fundamental to the success you've had at Crossrail.
Yes, I mean on Crossrail, we got the funding was in place, the design was in place, and the hybrid bill gave us all the consents we needed to get the railway working quickly. So I think that combined with an aggressive delivery program where there are hard dates for delivering stages of the project, I mean that's the way you deliver major projects successfully.
We also heard Mark saying about the fact that a lot of Network Rail people have gone abroad, they've gone off to other projects. Is there a concern that as Crossrail winds down that you lose a lot of key skills to High Speed 2? How do you mitigate against that?
I think it's difficult because people will follow their own careers, but on the other hand, I think Crossrail is a very attractive place to work. I think the work is enjoyable and people can develop their careers on Crossrail. But there is a market for the most talented people, and HS2 is in that market with us.
Finally, you were asked earlier whether building Crossrail is better than building Camp Bastion. Harking back to your former career. Is it better than building Camp Bastion?
It is better, it's busier, it's more complicated, and it's probably a little bit more fun.
Chris, we'll keep an eye on how the project progresses towards the opening date in 2018. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks very much.